Hi, welcome to another coffee break. My name is Sarah Kroll. We're here today to talk about virtual team connections. I've been working in the federal government for about 11 and a half years. About 7.5 of those I've been remote. And so I'm here today to share some of the lessons I've learned, success stories I've heard, things that I've also used in leading and working with virtual teams. Before we get started and I start sharing some of these examples, there is a concept someone shared recently with me that I thought was really applicable both to this topic and this environment that many of us are working in. We've heard a lot about social distancing, and what this topic does is try to really separate out what we're talking about when we talk about connectedness and the state that we're working in right now. And so what they describe this as is that we're really looking to create social connectedness in a time where we have to be physically distant. And of course, we need to find new and creative ways to do that. So my hope is that today I can share some practical examples with you, and that hopefully one or two of them are something that you can take with you and be able to use in your team. So the first one is to take a tour. Not a lot of us can get outside or go explore new places right now, but the good news is that there are a number of museums that actually allow you to take virtual tours. And here's how you can use this with your team. You can either one, take 30, 45, 60 minutes to get together and explore these places together and just be able to talk about it, what interests you, what doesn't interest you, something that you can do together as a team that might not necessarily just be work related, but allow you to still understand each other in a new way, share your likes and dislikes, and be able to explore a new place. The other option is you can ask people to go explore it on their own first and then come together to share some of those reflections. A couple of things I've heard people have asked questions: which one really resonated with you individually? What's something you saw on the tour that reminded you of our team? So they can provide some interesting discussion topics as well. Another option is games. There are lots of games available, and a lot of them are available virtually. A couple here that you can have your paid game services, so there are a number of these. Jackbox Games is one that I know I've certainly used in our workplace, particularly Quiplash. If you've never seen Quiplash, actually Jimmy Fallon, you can YouTube Jimmy Fallon Quiplash, and he plays it once, and you can kind of see how it works. It's kind of like apples to apples virtually. Another one is called the Game Agency. One game here that I think is kind of neat is you can do Jeopardy, and that's one where you can actually create all of the questions. So that's a nice way where you can do learning mixed with building some team game time and connectedness. A word of warning, particularly the Game Agency is quite costly. One thing about it is you can get a free 14-day trial. So if you know exactly the time you might want to use it and something special you might want to use it for, that could be an option for you. There are also a lot of free games. So I've seen a number of people who've downloaded games on their apps, board games like Clue or Monopoly or playing Uno. That's definitely an option. I actually have a team at our work that played Settlers of Catan together, which is a board game, and they all downloaded it on their phone, and then they had their video chat going, and it was a fun way for them to kind of take a break from work but find ways to still be connected and build their team. There are a couple other options as well, as you see on the screen. There's one that has Scrabble. This is the typing test one, is one I just recently heard about that was really interesting, where you can go and you can take a 1, a 3, or a 5-minute typing test. And you could do this with your team to see who types the fastest. Now, this is probably better for teams who might enjoy a little competitiveness, but it's also something you could do in a pretty short amount of time if you wanted to try something a little different, depending on your culture, and perhaps a little fun. Another game you can try is called the question game. This is also something you can try that doesn't take a whole lot of time. You can do it in a pretty small amount of time. And when you're with your team, the idea is you want to talk to each other, but you can only use questions. I'll give you an example of how that works. So for example, you might have someone say, "It's a beautiful day. Don't you think so, Kate?" And then Kate would respond, "Oh, what do you like about it, Dante?" Go with Dante. And then Dante would respond, "How about that sunshine, Yolanda?" So the idea is that you keep this conversation going by only asking questions. And then the person who can't think of a question within 5 seconds, well, that restarts the game. One final game you can think of using, it's something called Mind Meld. And this one, again, you could do it in a fairly short time, or you can make this one go a little longer. In this case, what you'd have is one person who's a describer, and everyone else on the team is an artist. And the idea here is the describer tries to think of an object and then uses directions, basically gives directions for how the artist should draw it. And the artists are trying to guess what the object is. So here's an example. Let's say the describer thinks of a house. A direction that the describer might give is first, draw a square. As you see, everybody might draw their square a little bit differently. And then the next thing the describer might say is draw a triangle on top of that square. So again, they draw the triangle. And again, as you see, the triangles might look different. They might be drawn in different places. And the idea is when one of the artists thinks they can guess what the idea is that the describer has, they raise their hand and they say, I think I know it. And they say what they think it is. And if they guess it, they win. So again, another fun way that you can use video to be able to connect virtually and do some of these activities without necessarily needing to be physically with each other. A couple more ideas that you can incorporate if you're not looking to necessarily do games or something separate, but that you can incorporate maybe more into your regular workday flow and into some of the meetings you may already have. The first one, I've heard a lot of people starting to do morning virtual huddles, and this can take a lot of different forms. Some people do these as just 5 minutes at the beginning of every day or every other day, and it's used just as a quick check-in. What's coming up? What are we looking at the day? You know, what are things that we should be aware of that might be challenges or that we really want to make sure we get done? It can be just that quick 5-minute touch base to make sure that everyone's connected together and knows what's coming up. I've seen on the far opposite side that this is maybe just something that happens once a week or every other week for a longer period of time, from 30 to 45 minutes. And they have it more of a water cooler style. And this is something I've tried with my team, and it's been a lot of fun, where you come together at the beginning of the week and you can talk about anything except work. So you just get together. It can be on a call or on a video call. You can kind of choose. Personally, for myself, sometimes I like to say that we should keep the video off and actually have everybody walk around while they're talking, because right now in a virtual world, we sometimes get stuck in our seat a little bit too often. So basically, it's a fun time to connect and really try to create that intentional time to talk about things maybe other than work, given your team culture. And it can be difficult to create that intentional time when you're virtual. A lot of times those things happen in the office just as you're passing by or have more informal conversations. So being in a more virtual workplace, trying to create that connectedness virtually does create a bit more of that intentionality and ways of thinking how you can facilitate that. And this is one of those ways. Another option is a monthly TED Talk. Now this is interesting because you can mix professional development with being able to do this, with being able to have that connectedness. And in this case, you can do it one of two ways. You can talk to the team and find out maybe a TED Talk that seems relevant or interesting, do a poll or just have a chat about it. And then you can either have one person screen share the TED Talk for everyone to watch at the same time, depending on your technology, or you can ask everyone to start the TED Talk at the same time. Usually they last around 10-15 minutes, and then come together on a phone call or a video call to talk about what they took away, what was really meaningful to them, what resonated with them, what's something that interested them, maybe something that didn't interest them. And it can be just, again, a nice discussion piece that can provide both some professional development, some new learning, but also can help you explore new things about your team and the people that you work with. Another option is a weekly or daily question. So this is something you can do by email. So you might not have a lot of time for meetings or a lot of other things that are going on. What you can do is send an email that has a simple prompt, and you're just asking people to respond by email to that prompt. And this can actually create some very fun conversations, recognizing to keep the prompts work appropriate and something that people will find interesting and they'd want to learn about each other. One example is on our team every Wednesday, there's someone that will send out an email that says, how's your week going? And the person who sends out the email will provide 4 or 5 different pictures that could potentially represent different ways that your week could be going. And everyone responds and they says which picture or combination of pictures kind of best describe their week. And sometimes they get fun and creative with different prompts and captions for the picture. But it's a really neat way, I think, to it takes probably no more than 2 or 3 minutes for most people to respond, so it's quick. But again, it just helps to build some of that conversation when we're all in very different places and having to work virtually. Finally, the last thing is think about how to incorporate social time before and after meetings. So a lot of times when you're in the workplace, you might have people who come to a meeting a little bit early or maybe stay after a meeting's done and have some more of those informal conversations or those connection points. That can be a lot different when you're working in a virtual environment. So one thing to think about is if you own the meeting, start the meeting 5 minutes early or ask somebody to start it early. People will sometimes come on early. They can have a bit more of that space for those informal conversations. Or if a meeting ends early, think about maybe not ending it right away. You can actually invite people if they want to stay and have any informal conversation, or just giving a little bit of space for people to say, hey, can I talk to you for a second about something else? Sometimes just giving that extra minute after a meeting ends so people can have that quick comment, have that quick conversation, can help to facilitate some of that connectedness, both in a workplace and on a team. Finally, sometimes it's nice to have some discussion topics, whether it's icebreakers or different. You might want to think about what is something unique that I could ask my team to talk about to help build connectedness that we might not normally do every day and we can do virtually. So there's going to be show and tell. So one nice thing about video is you can maybe show and tell something you might not normally show in the workplace. So here are a couple ideas. You can do a little telework tour of your working space. I myself work in a closet, and so it might look really different than where some other people do their teleworking or their virtual work. Talk about an item at home that maybe they care about. You can talk a little bit about why. And it's always a fun one. What's the last thing you ordered online? I can always provide some interesting insight and some fun conversation. A couple other topics are listed below that you could look at and use potentially for discussion. I won't go through them, but I'm offering them here in case it's something that is helpful to facilitate some of that connectedness, to facilitate some conversation during when your teams are together and when they're trying to work in this virtual way. That's all I have to share with you today. My hope is that there's something that I offered here today that will be useful to you as you move forward. Maybe you try it as an experiment with your team, or something that maybe you just thought of and you say, oh, I'd like to have a conversation with someone else in my team and see if this would work or how this could work. I thank you for your time and attention and wish you the best.